K.
K6KRQ.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD, and we are now live on YouTube.
Would you like me to MC again tonight?
Yes, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Alrighty then, here we go. And I do see we are live. Okay, good evening. This is Bill, K6KRQ, your net control operator for the River City ARCS Slow Scan TV Net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.3 megahertz. River City ARCS members and all licensed radio amateurs are welcome to participate. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break, break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or the traffic is moved to another frequency. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet. I will recognize each station before continuing. Any station that wishes to check into the net, please come now while I get my clipboard. Go ahead.
Good evening, Alpha India 6, Delta Golf.
Norway 6 Yankee Germany.
November 6, Papa Golf, Quebec.
Kilo 6, Sierra, Quebec, Yankee.
Kilo Papa 4, Mike Delta.
Alpha Echo 6, Juliet Golf.
Okay, like the one night I'm squirming for my notepad, I get a bunch of check-ins. So I got Joel, AI6DG. I got George, NY6. Always get the, is it NY6G or N6YG?
N6YG.
I knew it. Okay. Oh man, I thought it was grammar. I had Bill, N6HA. I had Carol, KP4MD. Anybody else other than those four, other than Joel, George, Bill, and Carol?
Bob, November 6, Papa Golf, Quebec.
James, AE6JG.
Stewart, November 6, Delta Victor Mike.
Kilo 6, Sierra, Quebec, Yankee, Clay, Grass Valley.
Okay, like I wouldn't have expected the regulars. I've got N6PGQ Bob. I got Ace E6JG James. I've got Stewart N6DVM. And I got Clay. Can you give me your call and your QTH again?
Yeah, it's Kilo 6, Sierra, Quebec, Yankee, Grass Valley.
Excellent. K6SQI, Clay, and Grass Valley. Well, welcome. I don't remember us having you before, but not like I'm a long timer or anything. But we're good to have you. Glad to have you nevertheless. Anybody else? Okay, we've got 9, including myself. I think that's the most, at least the most that I've hosted. So, being as that Joel checked in first, we're we're going to go to Joel and see if he's ready to go. Are you ready, Joel?
One moment. What is their tone?
Yeah, good tone. Go for it.
PD 120.
All right. Excuse me. Before I go to commentary, I want to give an on-the-air welcome to Craig Bruce. And I see Carol commented on YouTube about our massively large check-in roster for tonight. So that's great. Anyway, let's go to comments. So I'm going to just go down the list. George would be next. So I'm going to let George give the first comment. Go ahead, George.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to prep my image. Okay. That looks like Niagara Falls, maybe. And a tour boat. I've got a lot of pixel pops on that particular one. It might just be my location because of the rain. So the picture came over relatively well, but just a lot of pixel pops. There's a boat in the foreground, waterfalls in the background, and that's about it for me. So I will send it back to Net, N6YG.
Thank you, George. Let's see what Bill, N6HA, has to say. Go ahead, Bill.
Hello? Sorry. Hey, Bill, November 6 Hotel Alpha. I didn't check in, but I'm here, so let's, I'll comment. Yeah, that's a ton of pixel pops, like George said. I'm not sure if it was on Joel's side or mine. It's a little faded compared to Carol's copy, but it looks like the American side falls, the Bridal Veil on the right, and the American Falls on the left. And I was just there for work recently, so looks very similar. Doesn't change very often. To the right usually is like a bunch of wooden planks and stuff. They have decks for you to go out and observe things. I wonder if it's behind that rock structure there. Usually I think it's there, but yeah, I wonder when did you go to Niagara Falls? If this is Niagara Falls, then N6HA.
Thanks, Bill. Hey, man, did you not check in, or I just imagining things and got lucky?
Clairvoyant. You you detected my presence, so it's pretty good. I did not check in. But I'm here now. N6NA.
Okay, as long as you're okay with joining us, of course we like having you. So anyway, let's go to Joel and have him tell us about his photo. Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, this is a close-up of a portion of the falls at Niagara. I thought it was Luna Falls on the right. I'll have to go look to see whether it's Luna or Bridal Veil. The island in between them is definitely Luna Island. You can actually see some dots that are people up there at the railing looking down. And American Falls on the left. Not usually when you think Niagara, you're thinking of Horseshoe Falls, which is way off to the right of this photo. This is a little slightly different perspective from normal because I'm actually down near water level. Usually you're up on top of the escarpment, up on the top of the cliff looking across. I actually walked down the road past some signs that I'm not sure I should have gone past. This was a long time ago. This is probably 20 years ago. So I'm not even sure that tour boat is still there. I'm sure Maid of the Mist is still running, but I think they've swapped out newer, bigger boats in the meantime. And yes, you mentioned them putting in some wooden tracks or walkways, and those are there in the picture on the right. You can see some orange, yellow dots, and that's people in rain gear walking on the walkways and trying to get right up and close and underneath the waterfall on the right. And beautiful summer day, seagulls flying around. I had a good time. Oh, the whole trip, 6 months. Got there just in fall, stayed there the full winter, and left just as spring was starting to spring. So I got to see 3 of the seasons, and I loved it in winter. It was so peaceful and pretty. Yes, cold. Fortunately, I only lived a block away from work and could walk it and not drive it. Back to Net AI6TG.
Thanks for that, Joel. FYI for George, an otherwise gorgeous picture. I got numerous pixel pops out this way too. So, you know what, Joel? That the horseshoe part that you mentioned, that's what I think of. I've never seen this perspective before, so it's interesting. If that boat wasn't there, I wouldn't have been able to make the wild Niagara Fall guess. So, for what that's worth. Anyway, next up for photo transmission is George, N6YG. Are you ready for us, George?
Yeah, I've got one for you. Let's see. I've already sent a picture, so I know the whole system's working. And I apologize for sending the SSTV warning image right on. It ended just at 9 o'clock. Normally, I like to end about 2 minutes ahead of time. So, anyways, here we go. N6YG.
K6KRQ. Before I go to comments, I'm going to see if anybody else would like to check in on the air to our net. Is there anybody else out there? Nothing heard. All right, I'm going to go to Carol, KP4MD, and see what she has to say. This is a neat picture, but let's hear Carol's commentary on it. Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, this is KP4MD, and I just stepped outside to bring in the cat's food dishes, and it is pouring down. The rain is really heavy out there, and I wonder if that had something to do with the band conditions. A lot of noise on 2 meters and 10 meters today, and this picture has hardly any pixel pops. Much better than the previous one there by Joel. And I see, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 2, 16 Yagis, all lined up in the same direction on top of some trucks there. Now, are those? Looks like our Army trucks. I don't think that's an individual ham operator's setup there, but you got a lot of VHF Yagi antennas all pointed in the same direction and stacked and side by side. That's tremendous. Bet you it has a really tight beam width. Nice picture, good bright colors too. Back to nets, KP4MD.
Thank you, Carol. Let's go to N6PGQ for Bob's insight. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, quality is really good. Only a few pixel pops, as was mentioned before. That's one heck of a comm truck. You can see the stairs going in at the bottom left of it, and the stairs look like they're the rungs of it are quite a distance apart. I don't know. I was going to make a silly comment about somebody wanting to, get dinner for the troops by, radiating a herd of cattle or something like that. I'm going to be interested to know what they use this silly thing for. N6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Has anybody else got a comment before I go to George and his explanation?
I'm just wondering about the effort and time it takes to set this up. This doesn't look like something that you set up in 5 or 10 minutes. That looks more like 5 or 10 hours. Well, maybe not that long, but that's a lot of stuff to set up and tear down.
Good point. Hey, it looks like some kind of early warning system. It puts me in mind of like the early radar in Great Britain, like in 1940. But anyway, let's see what. Except the trucks look too new. Let's see what George has to say. Go ahead, George. I'm dying to know.
You're close to being right. There's actually it can do multiple things. It was actually a highly classified program just around the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it works as a early warning radar system. It also works as a sort of jamming device for Russian radar. It can project multiple different types of targets to confuse Russian radar and some other stuff. It's actually very difficult to find information on this. I had to look for a little while to do that, and I would love to know how they deploy this system. I mean, it's that tower actually goes up much higher. It's nested right there. The tower actually goes up. I have another picture where the tower looks like it's up about 35, maybe 40 feet, and it rotates, and apparently it has both the azimuth and elevation control. So very interesting system. The other truck is the power truck. It's the generator truck. So you have the communications truck and then the generator truck to power the whole system.
That's pretty neat. This is getting harder and harder to keep up with you guys and gal on the neato factor as the weeks go by, but I'll keep trying. Anyway, thanks for that, George. I wonder if Bill has anything or is ready for us. That would be Bill N6HA. How about it, Bill?
Yeah, I think I have something. I've done a lot of radio, but you'll see why with this picture. Let me get a quick tone.
Good tone. Go for it.
It's going to be PD 120 N6HA.
All right, that one came through good. So this time for commentary, we're going to go to James, AE6JG. Or what do you have to say there, James? Did we lose James?
Sorry, I am here. Hey, Bill. That's a cool picture of an airplane and a long ramp. Really clear, just a few pixel pops in the dark sky, but curious where this is, AE6JG.
Thank you, James. Let's go to Stuart, N6DVM, for some insight there. Go ahead, Stuart.
Well, this is the first jetway that I've seen that's been coming from the ground to the plane. It's not covered. Most jetways are covered. On the side and the top, they're fully enclosed. So this is unusual. I presume this is where they can't do access from a terminal directly and do it from the ground, and this would be ADA compliant. You could get people up there in wheelchairs and not have stairs to prevent them from getting into the plane. The picture is good quality. It looks good. That's all I can do.
All right, very good. Any other comments on this before we go to Bill?
I'm assuming a smaller airport, and I don't think that's ADA, well, not American ADA compliant. It's too narrow and too steep, but it does make it a lot easier to get up there, and it's not stairs. So maybe when it's one of those small, narrow airplane wheelchairs, they could wheel someone up with a lot of effort. Back to net, AI6CG.
Thanks, Joel. Hey, before I send it back to Bill, it looks like I can see a Sky Chef's vehicle like in the background. I don't know if they're still in business, but I remember they had a softball team in a softball league I played in back in Los Angeles. Anyway, let's see what Bill N6HA has to say about it.
Yeah, good guesses. You guys got it. This is an Embraer 175, so it's a moderate-sized plane. I think it seats like, I don't know, 80 people. It's a good amount. So it's a bigger plane. So when I walked out and they let us out onto the tarmac to walk up this ramp, I was kind of blown away that this was even happening. But it turns out that they were doing construction on the Portland airport, and they let us go through a series of back entrances to finally get to our airplane to board. So I've never seen this before. I guess because they're doing construction, they don't have access to the normal jetways. This is my daughter's second time flying, because we flew there and back. You can see her head there. So it was kind of a novel thing, and the reason I haven't done a lot of radio, because I was up in Portland visiting friends. So that's I thought I'd share. It's kind of interesting. N6HA.
Very good. That one came through real clear here in the Thomas. So anyway, thanks for that, Bill. Next we're going to go to Carol, KP4MD, and see what she has for us this evening. Go ahead, Carol.
Okay, this is KP4MD, and this is going to be PD120.
Neat. A weather photo. Hey, you know what? Like the YouTube feed looks like it filters out that nasty station identifier. Anyway, I'm going to see if like Clay, K6SQY, is still with us. Hey, Clay, if you're there for a while, you decided to join us on a rather full house. But if you're still there, we'd like to hear your commentary on this picture if you got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Clay, K6SQY, and pretty good picture come through. Got a little bit of popping, and all that kind of started when the rain started, so, but it came through pretty good, and it looks like some kind of funnel cloud, maybe, going to turn into a tornado, and hopefully Carol wasn't standing there looking at it when I came through. But be interested to hear what she has to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Clay. Appreciate that. I'm going to go back to the top for commentary. That's going to be Joel, AI6DG. Go ahead, Joel.
Well, unfortunately, I got a couple of cuts and a slant. That's probably on my end. The slant would have been corrected, and the cuts are because I was off on another window doing some other things while it was coming across, and my computer's just not up to it. Yeah, we're looking across probably a street, a little grape vineyard, some trees, a house, and then back in the background, very dark clouds and a very small funnel. T0, F0, excuse me, F0. Yeah, we really don't get real tornadoes around here. At least not what people in the Midwest in Tornado Alley would call tornadoes. Back to net, yeah, 6DG.
Thanks, Joel. Any comments before I go to Carol? All right, this picture came out really good on YouTube. It looks excellent. I'm wondering, I wouldn't exactly say tornadoes are uncommon. Like here, I usually hear about them, once or twice this time of year. So I'm wondering if this is a funnel cloud that came down here locally. But let's find out. Let's go to Carol, KP4MD.
Okay, this is KP4MD. No, I didn't take this picture myself, but I found it on the internet, and I was so impressed by how clear it is that I decided to download it off the internet and save it for the slow scan net. This was a funnel cloud seen in Stanislaus County on Monday, St. Patrick's Day, right around 3 p.m. The time they were having tornado warnings down there in the Central Valley. And we had a very severe thunderstorm pass over here right around 12 noon. And and there was pea-sized hail here, and there was just nonstop thunder. I wasn't sure what it was, but it was a really loud roaring sound, and I was kind of thinking, it might have been a tornado, but no, it was very strong winds, and the pea-sized hail and the thunder just going on and on and on for about 5 minutes. So fortunately, we didn't have any of that around here, but down Central Valley, they did have the actual tornado warning and saw several of these funnel clouds. I don't know if any of them touched the ground. It wasn't reported. Yeah, for those of you in Skywarn, this would be a very exciting past Monday. Back to net control. It's KP4MD.
Thank you, Carol. That is an awesome picture. If you would have been on tonight's Skywarn net, you would have heard me report like that on that thunderstorm here in the Thomas. We got about 15 minutes of hail, and it was pea-sized, like you say you got at your place, Carol. And for that day, my Tempest weather station counted 172 lightning strikes between 1 and 28 miles away. So that was something else. It was fairly intense weather. But anyway, let me see where I'm at in the order here. This is K6KRQ for ID. Next up is going to be Bob in Northmost Roseville, N6PGQ. Yep, it's your turn, Bob. Go ahead.
Okay, this is going to be PD120 N6PGQ.
got that one good here too, really good. This is Bill K6KRQ. Next for commentary is George in Lincoln, N6YG. Go ahead, George.
Well, it looks like we're looking at a vintage open-wheel race car. Got knockoffs on it, spoke wheels and knockoffs and modern tires. And what looks like a very well-equipped shop. I can't tell exactly what manufacturer this is or what team this was because I can't make out the emblems on the knockoffs or on the hood. But the picture came over relatively well. I got a few pixel pops, but the filter kind of takes care of those. So I'll be curious to know more information on this. So we're gonna wait. It's red. Huh, wonder if it's a Ferrari. All right, so go ahead and send it back to net. N6YG.
Thank you, George. Next on the comment list is Bill, N6HA. Go ahead, Bill.
Great copy here. Just a couple pixel pops. Very clear photo. Yeah, I agree with George. It looks like some type of hot rod. Big exhaust there that goes right near the the driver. If you don't touch that, you probably burn yourself. I have no idea what it is or how old it is, but it's pretty cool looking. So I don't know if this is Bob's garage, but if it is, that's pretty impressive. So Governor, where were you when you took this photo, and what is this? N6HA, back to that.
Thanks, Bill. Any other comments on this before I go to Bob?
A quick comment.
Go for it, Stuart.
Just wanted to emphasize how much safety standards have changed in racing vehicles between the 20s and 30s and today. That's it. N6TVN.
Well said. I like I said, this one came through good for me. I love those like old racers, like the Indy cars from that period with the open wheels. I'd love to have one. Since George took the Ferrari guess, I'm going to say Alfa Romeo, but let's see what Bob's got to say about his picture. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, this little car has been in the family for about 30 or 35 years, and it was in the California Auto Museum in the race car section until they decided they wanted to make more room, and it got voted out. So it came home yesterday. This is a dirt car. It's an American car. It was built probably in the mid 40s, right after World War II. It's got a Model A engine block with a double overhead cam conversion unit on it, made by HAL, H-A-L. And, the radiators in the front and the oil tanks right in the cowl and the fuel tanks in the back. You pressurize the fuel tank with a hand pump that's on the left side of the car as you're going down the straights, and it keeps the engine firing. Has a magneto, and this particular car you would tow it to start. It just has an in and out box, and so there it is. It's a nice little car, N6PGQ.
Question.
Go ahead, question.
What's the? Do you know what the horsepower is?
Well, it probably somewhere in the I don't know, low hundreds, maybe 150 if you were lucky.
I find that intriguing about the hand pumping the gas. That's interesting. One last question. Does it run?
Well, we got it to start about 20 years ago and decided we didn't want to break anything. The parts are hard to come by. The handbrake that's on the other side also, that's right next to the pump that pressurizes the tank, controls the rear brakes. There are no brakes on the front, as you can see. So it's pretty rudimentary. You know, it's a fun little car.
That's neat. I guess I'm going to say that the museum's loss is your gain, so kind of, sort of. Anyway, thanks for that, Bob. That is a good picture. Neat subject, and it came through real well. Next, we're going to go to James and see what James might have for us. Go ahead there, James.
All right, thanks, Bill. I will say Bob's car reminds me of the Pinewood Derby, and that's a very cool thing. All right, here we go. Stand by. I'm gonna send an image, PD 120.
This is Bill, K6KRQ. That one came through good. Hey, before I go to commentary, let me double check that I gave Bill N6HA commentary on the last photo. I didn't skip you, did I, Bill?
I think we're all caught up. Thanks, though. N6HA.
Thanks. I'm deathly afraid of a repeat of skipping you last week. I was so embarrassed. Anyways, that will bring us to Carol, KP4MD, for commentary. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere. I just have to remember to click the push the talk button on my computer screen the way I got this set up. Picture came through very well. I see maybe about half a dozen pixel pops on the top of the canopy there. And maybe there's a few others scattered throughout the picture, but they're harder to detect. Research flat Earth and study laws and a whole bunch of evidence there for the Earth being flat. It's interesting. I wish I could read some of that stuff, but I really do like some of the diagrams they have. And I did see a picture of the we had a lunar eclipse a couple days ago, and I saw a picture on Facebook that showed the disk of the moon, and there was a flat dark line shadow going across the moon, and I guess this was good evidence for the Earth being flat. I was quite impressed to see that. So back to you there, Bill. K6KRQ. And by the way, hi to Tim out in Kentucky who's following us on live chat. This is KP4MD. Over.
Thanks, Carol, for the commentary and for the on-the-air shout out to Tim in Kentucky. Gee, I'm wondering if we have some flat earthers among us. Let's go to Bob N6PGQ and see what he says about this. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I'm not surprised of any information that's floating around these days. Picture quality was good. I can't say much about the topic, but we'll hear about it in a while in 6PGQ.
Thanks, Bob. Any other comments before I go to James?
N6YG.
Go for it, George.
That was perfect timing. I was going to send a flat Earth picture today, and I chose that other one instead. This is one of my favorite pastimes is trolling the flat Earth groups on Facebook. My wife is laughing, so yeah, it's amazing.
Thanks, George. That sounds like something we might get some mileage out of in the future. Anyway, I wish I could see what all the things were on the, all the detail was, all the things on the board there, and is it really like a flat Earth thing? Go ahead and tell us about it, James.
My wife and I were meeting cousins this weekend at the Davis Farmers Market, and this was a booth, and so I took a picture of their display. I'll send you guys the photo so you can blow it up on your computer, but one of the things, for instance, is that it says number 4 on the left, water always finds its level. If Earth were a giant sphere hurtling through infinite space, then flat, level surfaces would not exist here. But since Earth is in fact an extended plane, this physical property of fluids finding and remaining level is consistent with our observations. How can you deny that?
Sounds incontrovertible to me. Were they like for real flat earthers?
At first I thought they weren't, but I think they were. In the middle it says NASA fails bubbles in space. NASA trains its astronauts in a pool. Coincidentally, in many NASA spacewalk videos, bubbles are visible and moving through space. Drain the pool, NASA.
Hi. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Make sure I get one too. That's good. Anyway, onward we go. That brings us to Stuart, N6DVM. Are you ready for us, Stuart?
I am ready. I have a quick question. Maybe you can deal on another night when it's the roster isn't so big. But my question is there such a thing as SSTV forensics, pixel pop forensics, tears and shreds and things like that? Can we look at these images and based on the quality of the defects to determine what happened in the signal transmission and therefore use that to correct it? So a question sometime, maybe you guys have already addressed that. I'm pretty new to SSTV, so if these questions have been answered, maybe just point me to that information. I would appreciate it. N6DVM. I'm ready, and give me a moment. PD120.
right. Thanks for that, Stuart. This is Bill K6KRQ. I hit up the Q code, by the way, too. But next in the order for commentary is James, AE6JG. Go ahead, James.
Thanks, Bill. I just tried that QR code. It did not work, Stuart. So whatever you're selling, I couldn't buy. Well, I have just a smattering of pixel pops on the dark black and the orange. This looks like, well, it's like a clover leaf, plastic. I have no idea what it is. Maybe some kind of medical device. It's from Boston Scientific. It must be science-y. Maybe it has something to do with flat Earth theory. I'm not sure. Back to net control, AE6JG.
Thank you, James. Let's go to Clay, K6SQY, and see what he's got to say about it. See if he hit up the Q code.
This is Clay, K6SQY, and I have no idea. I'm not sure. But the picture did come through very good. Towards the bottom of the picture, I did get a little bit of noise, but I also noticed that a big rain storm came through right at that moment, or a trough of rain. So everything looks good, though. Good job.
Thanks, Clay. Any comments before I go to Stuart?
The QR code worked for me. I haven't clicked it yet, though. I'll see what it is. N6HA.
Okay, yeah, it worked for me too. It took me to a wiki page, but I'm going to let Stuart talk about it because I haven't yet made the connection with the object in the picture. So let's hear it, Stuart. Go ahead.
All right, James was right. This is very sciencey. This has to do with radios and medicine. This is a radio frequency ablation device. It's very small. It's fed through a catheter, and it's used in different types of applications. In this case, it's used in the heart. If you have a cardiac dysrhythmia, atrial fibrillation, supraventricular tachycardia, you have pacemaker tissue, essentially from your sinoatrial node that normally controls the rhythm of your heart, stops working, or you have ectopic tissue, you have pacemaker cells, and the cardiac cells or myocytes that cause errant rhythms. And one way to treat it is to insert this into the heart and then either heat it or freeze it, or essentially it's called ablation. Break. This device is made by Boston Scientific. It's called the Ferropulse, and it uses radio waves to do this. So as we all know that we try to avoid the biological effects of our antennas, well, this is where it's being used to provide therapy. It uses medium frequency. We're usually between 300 and 500 hertz, between 20 and 90 watts. The sweet spot is usually about 60 to 75 watts. These radio frequency pulses are given over about 30 seconds or so. It varies, and higher the power, the lower the duration. Lower power, the longer the duration. And that's what that is, N6DVM.
Thank you, Stuart. This is Bill, K6KRQ. You guys and gals have heard me say this before. There's no shortage of conversation topics on this net, that's for sure. Anyway, that's going to bring us to Clay, K6SQY in Grass Valley. Do you have anything for us tonight, Clay?
Yeah, this is Clay, K6SQY. I do. Can I try a tone first?
Go ahead, give me a tone. That's a go. Go for it.
Okay, here it comes.
like the pixel pops came back, though. Commentary. That brings us all the way back to the top to Joel, AI6DG. Go ahead, Joel.
I've got to stop browsing on Discord trying to read backlog. Every time I do that while a picture's coming across, I get tears. So a lot of blue, a white blob on the upper right. Is this the shot from the helicopter coming to pick up that spacecraft that got the astronauts down off the ISS as they come to pick it up? It looks, trying to decide if those are dolphins or scuba divers off on the upper left. It looks like there's someone climbing up on top of the capsule on the upper right. I got bits and pieces. I can't exactly tell. Let's see what others that have better pictures can say. Yeah, back to net, AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. I was going to guess dolphins, too, but I didn't think anything about spacecraft. Let's go to George, N6YG, and see what he's got for it.
All right. Well, yeah. That's an interesting picture. It came over here real well. Then it does look... I've got quite a few pixel pops on this from the radar. And is that a person on the side of that? So yeah, this looks like it could be a spacecraft, a capsule, re-entry capsule. And I'm not sure. That looks like dolphins off to the side. So yeah, my guess is it's some sort of re-entry capsule. The interesting thing is I don't see any parachutes or anything like that. No, nothing attached to it. So I'll be interested to hear what the story is. N6YG.
Thanks, George. Any other comments before I go to Clay for the lowdown? All right, this is Bill, K6KRQ. Clay, tell us about your photo.
Okay, this actually leads back to the Flat Earth Society thing, but yes, that's correct. It's two dolphins on the left-hand side and the Dragon capsule on the right-hand side with a guy climbing up on it. And this was after they had let go of the parachutes and they were just about to bring it back up on the ship and recover it. So the reason why I bring in the Flat Earth Society people is that supposedly they're saying that this is all CGI and none of this really happened. So I got a good kick out of that. So I like the picture anyways, but hope you enjoyed it. This is Clay, K6SQY.
Thanks, Clay. That's good. Now I'm thinking about that film, Capricorn 1. Anyway, that is like all of our check-ins have sent photos, except for me. Is there anybody I've missed? I want to double check. Good. I didn't miss anybody. All right. Here goes. I guess this is probably going to be the last one. Here I go. comment list is Bill N6HA. Let's see what you have to say about my photo, Bill.
Yeah, great copy here. Just a handful of pixel pops. So it came over really good. Good quality photo. I see some mist in the background, and there's some stones in the foreground, and a small little, looks like a wall of stones between those two big boulders, and a plaque off to the left, probably telling you what all this is. And that looks like a stump in the far right there. I have no idea where this is at, but I'm sure it's historical, knowing you. So I wonder where it's at. Yeah. And when did you go? N6HA.
All right, thanks, Bill. It is historical. Let's go to Carol, KP4MD, for her thoughts.
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. I am going to guess that this has something to do with some sort of a battleground, because I know that Bill is really into military history. That's all I'm going to guess. I really can't say very much more. It looks like there's a map on the on that little plaque that's standing up there in front of that boulder on the left, and I don't know if that's showing part of France or something like that. That's my guess. I don't know. Back to you, KP4MD.
That was a good guess. Any other comments before I explain it?
AE6JJ.
Go for it, James.
I'm guessing, I don't know if this is in England or Scotland, if it's Hadrian's Wall or something, but excellent quality, came through just a few pixel pops.
Thank you, but I think you went a little bit too far away. This is at Gettysburg. It was another on another work trip, I don't know, about 20 years ago. It's at a place at Gettysburg called the Devil's Den, and that's the Sniper's Wall. The plaque on it is a picture, depicts an old picture from the day of a dead soldier laying. I forget if he's Union or Confederate. My father was like extremely interested in history, and especially the Civil War. So of course I had to go there and send him a picture. But it looks just like it does. It looks today like it does in the photo. That was a good guess, Carol. If you look up Devil's Den or Dead Soldier at the Devil's Den, you'll see the old picture, and you'll see it looks just like this. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to see if anybody's got any comments or questions or burning desires. Stuart, I'm going to have to ask you, I guess, to indulge us on your question. It is a good question, but unless somebody wants to address it afterwards, I hope that's okay. But any other questions, comments, or burning desires?
I've got a question or a comment.
Go ahead, George.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything. I had been there in Gettysburg. That's fine. But a little longer, about 40 years ago. That was very close to where I told the story about getting kicked out of a restaurant for bringing my own maple syrup in. So I don't know if you recall that story. But yeah, that wasn't too far from there. Anyhow, I have another picture if we have time for it or not. It doesn't matter. N6YG.
I'm okay with it. Are you okay with us waiting until next week to address your question, Stuart?
I'm definitely okay waiting, and we don't even have to discuss it. The question is, as you know, can we use artifacts and these images to diagnose what may have caused it? Some of them, I'm sure, are obvious, but are there specific patterns or anti-patterns that occur in these images that might be helpful? Or if someone has more information, simply point me to that, and then I'd just love to learn more. So if there's time for discussion later, that'd be great. N6STV.
I can probably shed a little light on that.
Okay, you want to go ahead and, I mean, I ain't going anywhere. Go ahead and send your picture, George, and then maybe we can discuss it.
Yeah, maybe we covered after the net. All right, I'll just send this real quick. N6YG.
That's a perfect finale there. You know, it doesn't look like a California plate, so I don't think it's yours or James's truck. I'm going to throw any comment out there to the group before I end. Any comments, go ahead.
Yeah, it's KP from D.
Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I was expecting to see the big balls dangling from the bottom.
N6NA.
Ghost, Hoover.
Well, there's a very good chance there are truck nuts there. We just don't see them because we're just above the trailer hitch. So you never know.
Yeah, never a dull moment on this net, that's for sure, whether we have a couple people or a whole bunch. So, anyway, with that, I'm gonna end it. I want to thank all who participated in tonight's SSTV Net. We had a pretty good group tonight. I really appreciate it. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. And thanks to our YouTube people too, if you can still hear me. Tonight was a good one. Again, we hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the air and YouTube. The net is officially closed late this time at 10:14 p.m. Pacific. This is Bill, K6KRQ, wishing all of you a good evening. 73.
Good job on the net tonight, Bill. N6YG.
Thanks. That was a pretty good one, man. Like I said, there's always conversation starters, but this was a pretty good one. Where'd you get this last picture at?
Oh, that was sent to me. A friend of mine was in vacation in Florida, and he emailed me that picture. He knows how much I like to troll the flat earthers, so he sent that to me, and he says they're out here. You know, he took that picture, I guess, at a stoplight in someplace in Florida.
Yeah, you know, I didn't know. This is K6KRQ. I didn't know. I know what. I'm not sure. At one time they were like really serious, and then I thought it was like some gag group, but I guess there are some serious people with it. I don't know.
Well, there's actually a story behind the resurgence of the flat Earth theory, and it traces back to Russia and their experiments with troll farms. Back in 2016, Russia began experimenting with their troll farms, targeting social media to see if they can influence public opinion. And so they chose the flat Earth theory as to see what kind of effect they could have, how successful they would be at convincing people to believe the absolute absurd. And unfortunately, it was extremely successful, far more than anyone could possibly believe. I believe in 2015 they said less than 1% of Americans believe the Earth is flat, and that number is up to like 14% now, according to some surveys that were done, which is just mind-boggling to me.
There's a word I'm looking for to describe that operation, but I find that kind of intriguing. That definitely bears like further investigation. The word escapes me for like the Russians to describe the Russians for instituting that program, but wow, that's unreal.
Propaganda, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, it was real. We were watching it real time as it was happening, as the interest was building, as the groups were building up, and they're targeting a very specific mentality. People that don't use first off, you can't use logic, reasoning, or facts to persuade the people who are subject to this type of behavior, because they don't use logic, reasoning, and facts to make their decisions. There's a lot of psychology behind it, and it's pretty scary. But anyhow, that's the story behind the picture.
Maybe diabolical is it? Hey, I'm not really sure what Stuart was asking about, like these photo transmissions. If it was a way by looking at it, you could like troubleshoot what went wrong, or if he's still there, maybe he can explain.
Yeah, I'm here, still here. On the last comment, discourse, I think those are just troll farms, Russian troll farms. I used to be president of the evidence-based Veterinary Medicine Association international group, mostly designed on advancing the methodology of bringing the best evidence available to clinicians. But we spend a lot of our time dealing with people who are practicing medicine with very dubious claims like homeopathy and being skeptic, and trying to convince people who are ostensibly well-educated on how not to cause harm and misinformation to their patients and clients. My question simply is, we talk about these images, we often call out pixel pops, which is interesting, but essentially the question is, are there well-established or understood artifacts in SSTV images that provides a clue to what happened in transmission? So we see pixel pops, so what? Is there a pattern to the pixel pops, the distribution, the colors, the pattern with tears and other things that might help us understand what happened during that transmission? Was it weather, antenna, power, syncing, all those kinds of things, and if there's any way to help understand what happened? N6TVM.
Evidence-based. Yeah, that's a tough one nowadays. People don't believe evidence. Yeah, like vitamin A cures measles, and vaccines cause measles. That's the latest one. We're seeing the effects of that. But anyways, that's just a depressing topic. As far as SSTV, there is no error correction per se in this. There might be a few modes that have some sort of forward error correction. I don't remember. But there's simply each line is transmitted independently, and you have a start tone, and then each color is represented by a different tone. And so when you see those pixel pops in our particular situation, that's just corrupted information, the result of probably pave pause and their radar interfering with the reception of the signal. Now, for more information, if you look inside, let me reset. If you look inside the MMS TV installation folder, you'll find several text files. And there's one very good text file that describes the methodology. It also describes the various modes that are used and how they're used and so on. So there's quite a bit of information there that you can read. And then once you go through that, you'll have a better understanding of how this works. There's also digital SSTV, which of course has error correction in it, but it's a little bit, it's nowhere near as forgiving in setup and getting the levels right. And I think it kind of died off here in the United States because of the difficulty in getting the audio levels just set just right. So I hope that kind of helps. N6YG.
Comment.
Go ahead.
So the random dots are just random. Occasionally, you might get kind of a pattern if they're not random and they just happen to be coming out in a regular interval that happens to interact with the slow scan mode you're in. I don't know if the color. I think it's just random. A couple of things, though, that might mean something is if you get tearing on the left or right of the screen, there is a setting within MMSSTV about a frequency. Maybe George can say more about that, but it's your setting in relation to the transmitter setting. The person setting the picture can affect whether the tearing is happening or not. Another thing is if you have a hard tear where there's a sudden line where everything's shifted, that typically means that your computer had a glitch. Well, you or the transmitter, but it's basically where the computer just isn't fast enough and it loses data, kind of like, and it picks it up again and starts over, but it's at a different position horizontally when it picks it up. I got a bunch of tears this time because while I've got an underpowered computer trying to do too much, and most of the times when I was receiving a picture, I went off onto another window and was either browsing in a web page or in Discord, and it just overpowered the computer, and the computer lost some of the audio coming into MMSSTV. I hope that helps. Lots of questions. Maybe pass it on to George for his comments about the timing settings, transmitter to receiver within MMSSTV, AI6DG.
Go ahead, Carol.
Carol, are you still there? Go ahead.
comment.
Go ahead, George.
That was Bill. Yeah, there's I don't know if there's any published papers on this, but HARP was doing a experimentation with slow scan a few months ago. There's a project called Ghosts in the Air Glow, and as part of the art project, they were sending slow scan images over HF. But there's a large amount of data involved with that, and I'm not sure if any published papers have came out from that work yet. But something to look at if you do want to look at some large set of slow scan data. That's just Ghosts in the Air Glow dot space if you want to look that up. N6HA.
Comment?
Yes, Stuart, go ahead. Boy, that's quite a bit of stuff.
So first of all, incredibly helpful to all of you. That's what I was looking for, and especially, for example, what Bill just said regarding research that looks at these artifacts. And again, if there are specific patterns, unique beyond random noise or things that are going on, I realized that I've done a little bit of reading on SSTV. I understand it's like UDP for video and like TCP/IP correction and other normal, typical things that impact the image. But specific patterns like the one Carol mentioned is what I was kind of thinking about. And if you can recognize them, that might help you do mitigation. Understanding that it's a man-made phenomenon, it's specific to a particular kind of technology, and you might be able to make, again, to mitigate or make corrections to improve image transmission. But thanks to all of you. It was great. Thank you. N6DVM.
One more thing from me.
Go ahead.
Another thing that occurs to me is signal-to-noise ratio of your transmitted signal into the repeater and audio levels. I mean, which are basically kind of the same thing. I mean, you can, totally aside from PayPause, you could have a very strong signal into the repeater or a very weak signal, either from signal strength or from audio level, affecting the signal-to-noise ratio. And that's into the repeater. I guess I need to go end to end also. It's not only you into the repeater, but how well you're receiving the repeater. Or the more often it's going to be you getting into the repeater than you receiving the repeater, since it's a lot stronger. Many years ago, we used to actually do slow scan simplex, and that was interesting because depending upon where people were, two different people could have completely different signal strengths. And I guess it was decided to go to the repeater because more people would have much stronger signal reception. I guess I'm kind of rambling, but the signal-to-noise ratio is the bottom line of what I'm trying to say. Back to net. Yeah. Back to you guys. N6CG.
This is K6KRQ. Hey, you know what, guys? For what it's worth, guys and gal, for what it's worth, George was just like this week's class I'm taking on to get the extra license given by the people. I think it's the National Radio Museum. Just like what they explained in this week's course, and Joel, Carol, and Bill gave some good specific examples. So that's pretty good, Stuart. I think I learned quite a bit from that too. Thanks for that.
Stuart, I'm curious if you are dealing with any slant on your received images.
An image I transmitted last week, I believe, of the Segway polo players. The image was torn, and I believe we briefly discussed that might have been a syncing issue. Again, it was as a line, the next line was being redrawn. That data bit was damaged and wasn't synced properly. So short answer to your question is yes, I have N6DVM.
Okay, is your MMS TV program still running? Can you receive an image?
I sure can. Go ahead.
All right. right, I'm going to send an image in MR90. Okay, if you click on the sync tab, what does it say in the top right-hand corner?
Right, give me a moment. Where is this? I'm using Ionic. Is the Ionic interface the same as SSTV? I presume it is.
Yeah, it should be. So there's template, TX, history, RX, and sync.
All right, I'm in the sync tab. What am I doing again?
So look on the, well, let's start just under the image. You'll see it says MEM and a couple up arrow keys. What is the number there that right next to it?
The frequency?
In hertz.
Yeah, it's 44100.50 hertz.
Input.
Go ahead.
Mine says 11,025.34 hertz.
Yeah, you're at 11 kilohertz, and that's what you want. What happens is the input sampling rate. When you see tearing, quite often your input sampling rate is too high, and the MMS-TV uses a buffer system for incoming data and outgoing data as well. And so you can increase the number of buffers in the setup, but generally it's recommended to take your sampling rate down to 11 kilohertz. That way you don't overrun the buffers, and that tearing happens because you tend to overrun the buffers or underrun the buffers on receive. Overrun the buffers on receive and transmit, either way. And so there's a split second there where it just hangs up, and it creates that tear. I guess it's the simplest way to explain it. Is there any slant in that picture that I just sent you? At that white bar, is it straight up and down?
Yeah, the image is essentially perfect. Everything is straight. On the sync image and on the primary image, the colors are well, the gradients are good, there's no distortion, the lines are straight, etc.
I'm wondering, do you have auto sync on? In the top right-hand corner, there should be a white bar, and it should give you some information in parts per million and in hertz.
Yeah, I was just going to share that and ask you what that was. It's plus 0.5 hertz and plus 11 parts per million.
Okay, so what that is, that means is you have auto slant on, and what auto slant is basically just a algorithm that it uses to determine the error in the sound card oscillator. and that's that number on the bottom. It used to be that you could tune into WWV and let it run for a while, and then you can calibrate the program to WWV to correct for any error in the oscillator on the sound card. You can also do it from a master radio station on over the air, like what we're doing here. And if you look on the sync tab, underneath it says MEM, M-E-M.
Yeah, I see that.
So if you press that button, what it's going to do is it will zero out those numbers on top, and it will correct for your sound card's error by using my signal, which should be relatively right on.
Fantastic. Yeah, it grayed out and it zeroed out the numbers at the top.
Okay, so now the timing of your sound card has been corrected, because the sound cards are obviously not $1,000 radio sets, and they don't have, high stability crystal oscillators and such on them. So they can fluctuate a little bit and not be right on, and that's what causes that slant. Auto slant correction, most people run it. A lot of people have been doing it for a while will not run it because it can cause tearing and it utilizes resources and so on. So there you go, N6YG.
Incredibly helpful. You're very knowledgeable, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
George, is your system, your image calibrated? Should I hit MEM to calibrate to you?
I believe my system is calibrated. I did it a while back, and it should still be good. I'm on a 9700. Well, this has nothing to do with the radio. It has to do with the laptop, so excuse me. So, yeah, I did calibrate this a while ago. It would be nice if someone who has, you know what? I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, you don't, I was thinking you had to use the radio, but as I'm talking through this, I just realized that I completely overlooked something. Yeah, you're calibrating the sound card's oscillator, so you can use any HF radio and then just transfer that over here, because you can manually input the offset as well, the PPM. You can go into the calibration section of MMS TV and manually input that, or I think you can use those up-down arrow keys as well to manually change it. So, yeah, okay. N6YG.
Wow, you guys are total hipsters. I'm impressed. That's real interesting. Thanks from me, too.
Is there a disadvantage of using auto on receive versus selecting the mode directly?
Okay, well, it depends on how powerful your computer is, how much RAM you have on your computer. Here, do me a favor and click on the TX tab across the top, and then the red TX button. I want you to right-click that, and it's going to pull up the setup menu for MMS TV.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, click the miscellaneous tab and look at there's a little area down there that says FIFO, first in, first out.
Receive is 4 and transmit is 4.
Yeah, bring those up to 32.
Are you recommending that on both of them, receive and transmit?
Yeah, those are your buffers.
For what it's worth, this is a laptop I bought just for amateur radio. It's a ThinkPad with 16 gigabytes of RAM and a i5 processor, for what it's worth, N6NA SSTV Net.
That should be more than powerful enough. And yeah, I recommend that to everyone. Just max out the buffers. Modern computers have more than enough RAM to handle that. And there's one more setting I want to check.
My FIFOs are set to the default 12 and 8 receive and transmit respectively. I'm gonna try the 32, and that is, like you say, the max.
Absolutely. Go to the RX tab.
All right, I'm there.
Yeah. So under RX buffer, make sure RAM is set.
It is set to RAM.
And under demodulation method, make sure it's Hilbert transform.
Hilbert transform was selected as well.
All right. On slower computers, you can use zero crossing or PLL, but most modern computers are more than fast enough to handle the Hilbert transform mode. And then under RX BPF, you can use broad on that. Unfortunately, it's a bandpass filter on the receive side. Sounds like a good idea, but it seems to degrade the image. So normally it's set to broad.
All those settings, those ones you just mentioned, I think they might be defaults too, because that's what mine are, and I don't remember ever touching them.
Re-download initially, you know?
It might be. I don't remember. I've been running so long, I forgot what default settings are. The other one under miscellaneous is priority of MMS TV. There's a normal and a higher. If you're having problems with tearing, you might want to, click on higher.
Yeah, mine's on higher. And the image I mentioned last week, I didn't have any. I transmitted the image. I have not experienced tearing on the receive side for me. That was experienced by others. And for example, I think Bill said he didn't have any tears, but Carol said she did, or somebody else did. So it was those who received the image. So.
You can also pull up your task manager while you're transmitting a picture and look at the resources and see if you see the resources like the processor max out at any point. If that's it, you might have another application that's being a resource hog. For example, one I found that can be two things that can be real problematic for MMS TV are antiviruses and Windows when it does its hard drive indexing. It can really momentarily peak processor up to 100%, and that's when you will start to see problems in this program.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I do want to experiment with different hardware and software for this. I do have a high-end Mac Studio, so maybe I'll run it there and go turbo mode. N6NA.
The program has a loopback feature, and so if you have, depending on your sound card setup, if you have an audio cable that you can plug from the microphone jack or line-in jack, whatever you're using, to the speaker jack, and then you can go into MMS TV and you can select loopback, external loopback. It'll do an internal loopback as well, but the internal loopback's a good way to check to see if your computer has the resources and power to handle the program, because then you can transmit a picture and it will be internally receiving and transmitting at the same time, assuming your sound card is capable of full duplex mode. The other way is, and this kind of more represents actually using it on the air, is to use an external cable and to link the input and output together and then transmit an image while you're receiving it. And I've done that extensively, playing with the different settings to see how different settings actually impact the image quality.
That's a good idea as well. This is I'm running off a data port. I'm running on a Yaesu FTM150 through the data port in the back, and a DigiRig mobile through USB-C on the laptop.
Oh, okay. What adapter are you using?
It's the DigiRig mobile adapter USB to, I believe it's the Yaesu 9-pin. This radio was released in November of 2024, and DigiRig makes a special cable for it.
There are several of those types of audio sound card adapters, and I'm trying to remember exactly which one that is. Did you get it on Amazon?
No, I bought it directly through DigiRig.
DigiRig?
DigiRig Mobile, correct.
Yeah, I do believe that's one of the... Yeah, okay, I'm familiar with this one. So yeah, that's a good little setup.
It's worked well so far. I'm happy with it. I have other devices as well, but I've been using this lately, so I've been happy. All right, this has been great. Thank you again. I will experiment a bit, and I'm going to also maybe next week try a different machine and different Mac software as well. I want to sort of play the field and get experience with all of it. So again, thank you. N6NA.
No problem. I actually enjoy helping. A little slower nowadays than I used to be, but I was going to say Mac software is, I believe, Black Cat Systems. I actually kind of like it. It doesn't have all the templating tools, and it's nowhere near as complex as MMSTV, but it's actively maintained, and it's really probably much more plug and play than MMSTV is. I mean, it pretty much for most people just works right out of the box.
Yeah, I've used it. I think I have two. I haven't used them recently enough to remember, but there are two that I have, and one was last updated in 2013, and actually was concerned about even downloading it, being a risk, but the other one was simple. Some beauty in its simplicity, nowhere near the features of MMS SSTV, but it was simple to use.
Yeah, that's. I didn't realize it had been that long since it had been updated. But yeah, I like Black Cat. I've known people on Macs that have used it. So, all right, I'll let you go. It's been a pleasure. N6YG.
Same to you. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. N6DVM.